Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming in a new Baldurs Gate video. Today we're talking interesting and particularly useful details you probably don't know. Things that I've learned from playing myself, sure, but also talking with friends, watching a stream and so on. The type of things that I honestly wish I knew sooner, so hopefully these help you like they did me. But with that said, let's begin. Let's start with our very messy inventories. Now, you should know that it's a good idea to take everything you find, because if you take everything you find, you can end up vendoring it and making good money. I'm sat on a pile of like 8k gold, and I've not really tried to farm gold at any point because of that. Whatever camp you're in, you will find a traveler's chest which has pretty much infinite loot, it seems. It just continuously expands and it's pretty insane, and hey, it means you're not getting weighed down when you carry all this stuff. What you probably know then is you can right click something and then choose send to camp, and that will instantly send it to this chest, which when you come back to the camp you can find the item and just take it out again. But let's be honest, doing that over and over, it takes a lot of time and can be pretty irritating. However, there's a really cool trick that I was made aware of that will speed up this whole process. So by holding control and clicking on something, you'll see that it puts a white box around it. That means it's selected. And as you can see, while holding control, I can left click everything I just want to send to the camp. Then whenever I right click and choose send to camp, they all go to the camp chest instantly together. Alternatively, you can hold shift and then click, and then it will actually highlight everything in your inventory if for some reason you wanted to do that. But ultimately, this trick is way smoother than individually manually sending everything to the camp one by one, and I'm embarrassed to say that I've been doing that for a good few hours of this game, so this little trick has been life-changing for me. I hope it helps you. Next, let's continue that point now with a trader tip. Now, most people at this point know you can swap between trade and barter, and then you can go to an item, click on it to sell, and great, it's sold. We can also choose these tabs to find like specific stuff, whether we're trying to sell ingredients in specific, but it's a bit slow of a process to do that. Did you know then that you can actually right click on items and choose not send to camp but add to wares? It'll put this sort of silver symbol over the item. If I take a couple items and make them both wares and then go to the vendor again, when I'm in the trade menu, you'll see that a new button has shown up at the bottom, sell wares. So those two items that are marked with the silver icon will instantly sell all at once. And just as I showed you before, you can hold control and actually individually click the things. So now you've got the multiple things highlighted, you can right click and choose add to wares, and it'll turn them all to wares just like that. Again, letting me press the button in the trade menu to instantly sell them. So if you find something in the world that you're like, yeah, I'm definitely going to vendor that, you can also just mark it as a ware while you're there, and then when you go to trade, it'll be a very quick process. Next, let's talk about a tip to help with the weight of everything you're carrying. So all of your party members start with camp supply sacks, and you'll also find food items for when you're doing long rests. These things actually have weight, and as you gather lots of this, the weight actually becomes pretty nasty. I mean, take a look at the 20 camp supply sack. That's 43 weight on that individual item. The thing is, if you send this to your camp, it's going to massively reduce the weight of what you're carrying, including all the actual food items. And when you go to long rest, what's going to happen is it's going to take from the chest whatever food items and camp supply, whatever is in the chest. There's no reason for you to actually be carrying around that junk because it can just be in your camp chest, not taking up weight, which is a game changer for having more space to carry stuff. Our next thing to know then is to do with all the crates you'll find in the world. Of course, you can interact with them and loot them and move on with your life, but you can also actually right click them and choose pick up. And when you take that, it will actually take it from the world and put it, yes, into your inventory. The crates aren't exactly super light though. They cost 10 weight per, so I wouldn't recommend carrying more than say a couple. Then from your inventory, you can take them and place them on the ground. By dragging them like so, you can actually begin to stack them up, making a little tower, even out of just 3. Then we can jump on top of the crates, and hey, suddenly we have a height advantage. Maybe that height advantage could be used for ranged actual combat, or it can help you solve situations in the world, like gaining height so I can actually jump up onto this roof from this position. These little towers can be useful in all kinds of ways, helping you solve puzzles, reach different locations, or you can actually drop things like this on gas vents to prevent them from spreading out gas, which is a great way to deal with that trap. This is a classic trick and well worth knowing about in this game. What about another ease of life trick? With this one, there's 2 types of inventories. When you press I, you bring up your own one, and when you press tab, you bring up the whole party's inventories at once, able to interact with them. And what's pretty cool about this is the way that you can drag items from each party member to another, and the distance doesn't seem to matter at all. Now also when you're in your own inventory, there's a nice search bar that helps you find specific things, or even a sort by menu, allowing you to sort by the latest things you've just picked up, which is really useful, their value, their weight, or even the type if you're looking for maybe just a specific potion. These little sort features are incredible, and I use this a lot in my individual inventories. But what I didn't realize for whatever reason is when you're in the group menu, that feature still exists. It's just moved and pretty subtle at the top left now. So when I choose sort by type, it sorts everyone's inventory by type all at once, which is absolutely incredible and obviously a lot faster than manually doing it individually like I've been doing like a fool. With the way that you can use group inventories from whatever distance, you can actually do it for vendoring. If I press G and separate the group individually and then choose, say, Shadowheart and send her to camp, I can use this party member to go to the chest and find something that I want to sell, like say this short sword. Now she has it in her inventory. I'll drag it to my main character who, say, is the person vendoring. Then I'll load over to that character who has, yes, the short sword in his inventory now, even though they're clearly very far apart. Super useful trick. Okay, for our next tip, I swear it's the last inventory related one, but it's another neat one. This is to do with backpacks, which as you can see, you can actually put in your inventory, just like the crates, and if you drop it, they'll appear on the ground, and you might loot them, but again, if you right click them and pick up, it'll go in your inventory like I've just said. You can find them all over the world, and it's good to have like a couple of them at least, because when you open them, it essentially is a extra inventory that you can use to organize your own inventory. Let me give you a clear example. I have all these potions that I want to quickly access, but sometimes my inventory gets a bit jumbled. So when I open it up, I'm like, all right, where are my potions? I've got to find them. I'll sort by type. Okay, now they're all in a line. Now I'll individually go through them. Or I can put them into my backpack. By just dragging them into the backpack, you can see how the number actually goes up to show you what's actually in there, how many things are in there. So as you can see, now that I've put a bunch of stuff in it, I can see that stuff and very quickly access it because this is my potion backpack. Instead of having to scroll through each one, I can just go, hey, look, all right, here's my potion backpack. Let me just go look at my potions, and there's the healing potion that I'm looking for. It allows you to kind of micromanage your inventory to a higher level and can actually be really convenient with that in mind. Okay, here's a tip that instantly helped me in my current party. I'm running Gale in my party, who is a wizard, aka a spellcaster. You could even be running him yourself, or will, for that matter. Did you know that human characters are just basically proficient with shields generally, which means both Gale and Will, yeah, they can use them. So what I did is I took a shield and just popped it on Gale, which instantly took his AC from 15 to 17, making him a more tanky, survivable character. Just like that. Plus, there's further benefits to putting shields on. Take the glowing shield here, with its benefit of loving protection once per short rest. If I'm ever put below 50% health on Gale and take damage, I just gain 8 temporary hit points, which is a major survivability perk for one of my most squishy party members. Talk about useful. And there's so many other things that you can get on a shield that can be also really incredible, like AoE lightning reactions, saving throw perks, and more. I started doing this as soon as I realized it, and I would recommend it. What about a neat trick for your party management as you move through the world and prep for a fight? This has been wonderful for me and something I'd like to highlight now. So obviously we're a 4-man group, we're moving together, and if we press G, it'll separate, and then I can individually control my character, then I can click on Gale and individually move him, Asterion and individually move him. That's great, we should all know that. But what if I want to move my team in a different way? What if I want to put Gale on a high ground specific spot, I want to stealth in with Asterion, and I want my two more melee fighters to stick together? Well, you can actually do that. By clicking on a party member that's in a group and dragging it, you can see that it's like chained to the group, and as I drag it away, it becomes unchained and now separated by that gap. And I can do the same for Gale, separating him from the party. Again, there's a space between him and then Shadowheart and my character, but then my character and Shadowheart are still in a group. So as I move my character, Shadowheart is obviously going to also move, and then vice versa with Shadowheart, because they're in a 2-man group, they'll move together. Meanwhile, I can go put Gale on high ground, and I can take Asterion and stealth into position. This is great for moving around the world or preparing for a fight, and doing it smoothly and effectively instead of individually doing all 4 party members one by one because they're all separated, which is really annoying. This is so much smoother, and even if you press G twice, it'll group them up again and we can regroup like that. Little tricks like this just make interacting with the game long term so much better, and I love them. Our next tip is about combat useful items you can apply to yourself, your party, or enemies, and it's all tied to throw. When you use throw, it'll actually reveal everything you can potentially throw, like for example those crates we spoke about earlier. Now I can pull it out of my inventory and throw it, which is neat. But what's great about this is if your ally is in desperate need of healing, you can take a potion and throw it at them, which will sure hit them, but then also heal them. Incredibly useful in general for helping your party, but also you can do the same for offensive stuff, like taking an acid vial and throwing it for an AoE. This gives your non-ranged allies a way to actually be ranged fighters in a manner of speaking. The thing is, take throwing healing potions at your allies. You can actually make it more effective at AoEing them. Take the item itself. Let's take an individual potion of healing and put it between my party members. If I then attack it, it will explode in AoE, healing multiple allies at once instead of individually throwing at one of them. The allies will need to be grouped up pretty on top of the item for it to really hit them, but it does give you a slightly bigger AoE and radius to heal your allies. After all, if there's an opportunity for you mid-fight to heal multiple allies instead of just one, why not, right? Finally, the last little tip I want to share with you is to do with wizards, who can permanently learn scroll spells as a passive, which is really cool. What you need to do is bring up their individual menu and go to Spellbook, where you can find this Learn More Spells book. When you press it, it'll show up this whole list of all the scrolls you have access to, and you can permanently learn these spells. It'll tell you whether you've trained this spell yet or not, and it'll require different levels of gold. For example, this will cost 100 gold to learn. But did you know that multi-classed wizards can also learn these scroll spells at just level 1? That means if I had, say, a Cleric at level 4 who is multi-classed into Wizard at level 1, it can still use this feature to learn a variety of spells that it otherwise wouldn't have access to yet or ever, and still cast them, which is awesome. So a little tip if you're using wizards or any spellcaster that would benefit from this passive effect. But there you have it, a bunch of tips and tricks that I found really useful in my own gameplay, many of which have been really helpful. I hope these things are useful to you too, and if you actually have any more tips of this nature not mentioned today, maybe you can drop it in the comments. You might help someone, maybe I'll even include it in a future video. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.